Hi. Welcome to Seam TV. Manchester City and Real Madrid locked horns in an interesting encounter that saw the former come out victorious. In this video we will describe the tactical approach used by Pep Guardiola to outclass Zidane's Real Madrid. Help us build our channel by subscribing. Thank you. Pep Guardiola's side were quite extraordinary, and by contrast, Madrid were unable to solve some deep-rooted issues that haunted them throughout this campaign. The clash ended up in a 2-1 victory for City. 4-2 on aggregate. Manchester City set out their best team on the pitch with Fernandinho with Laporte. Foden played at the centre and took Mahrez's position as well. It was a 4-3-3 formation. But only on paper. Zidane played his team in a 4-3-3 formation as well. The midfield was formed by Kroos, Casemiro, and Luka Modric, without Valverde. Hazard returned to the squad with Rodrygo starting on the right flank. Varane and Militao partnered up for the centre-back positions since Sergio Ramos was unavailable. Madrid's defence was far from perfect. Apart from the individual errors, they just could not stop City from creating chances. In the press, Madrid tended to defend in a man-orientated manner. This time, Kroos was the player to form the first line with Karim Benzema. This was reasonable as Modric was unable to cope with the quick tempo during this phase. This was however very difficult as Madrid did not have a plan to nullify the impact of Ederson. Apart from City playing suboptimal passes in the build-up, Madrid were unable to force errors and regain possession at the final third. Ederson played long balls despite the backline being isolated against the likes of Gabriel Jesus and Raheem Sterling. This was fine as Madrid defenders were far better than the short attacking players of City. After Sterling scored an opener for the home side, things became very bad. The defensive structure was hugely imbalanced and gaps were everywhere horizontally. To regain possession, Madrid simply pushed Modric into an advanced position. When Modric pushed up, he failed to cope with the movement of Gundogan, who was clever to stay behind the first line. Without collective efforts during the press, Madrid failed to pressure the first line of City, leaving huge spaces at the central third. Usually, Rodrygo or Casemiro should have provided the defensive cover for Modric, but it was not happening because of their man-marking approach. Rodrygo was dragged wide by João Cancelo, and Casemiro was largely overloaded by Foden. Given the horizontal gaps between players and lax pressuring activity at the front, it was too easy for City to play the outballs. See as Rodri simply picked Gundogan with a pass that broke the midfield of Madrid. Keeping Valverde on the bench was conducive for the attack. But it also came at a price as most players on the pitch were not good at defending. Despite being a big offensive threat, Hazard was a great mismatch when trying to cover the free City players like Walker. Hazard, on many occasions, distanced himself from his teammates during defense. This triggered some counter-attacks, but was not enough to result in goals. In the second half, things became worse as Madrid were not even pressing. They had spent too much energy in the first half. A low block was formed and all men were behind the ball. The only pressure, without any coordination, has led to Jesus' goal. City did evaded the Madrid press and created their chances from positional plays. They successfully circulated the ball through a three-man backline who in turn always sought to find a free player. We see how Fernandinho was able to play the out ball because Rodri and Laporte absorbed the pressure. The mismatch were always on the right side because Hazard had an awkward duty to perform. He was expected to provide the defensive cover whenever Kroos went high. Walker often served as the free player to progress play whenever De Bruyne drew Hazard narrow. A very key player was Gundogan. Gundogan handed a top-class performance. He lurked behind Modric, and provided the second layer or drag Casemiro with him, making it easy for Foden or De Bruyne to drop and help City find a free man to create the chances behind the Madrid press. One of City's changes included the role of Walker and the wingers. See as Walker went to the half spaces while the winger occupied the wide zone. The key idea was still to exploiting the loose pressing of the opponents while exploiting the defensive flaws of Madrid. Casemiro had a very difficult job as he did not want the centre-back being isolated. When City played the ball to the highest player was inevitably focused on the ball, thereby leaving spaces for De Bruyne to exploit. See how City mastered some offensive plays such as the third-man combination, and this certainly helped to release De Bruyne as a free player in the final third. Gundogan also supporting the attack. The most fascinating part of the game was the defensive setups. City were simply brilliant to deny Madrid the chances to attack. The likes of Kroos and Modric tended to drop very deep while a large scale of positional interchanges occurred. The position of Benzema was irregular while Mendy and Carvajal joined the midfield at some points within the game. City were coming with a strong sense of coordination, and the pressing triggers were not clearly one signal but rather a combination of player intelligence and judgment. See an instance where City refused to press and were waiting for Madrid to play the ball. They had already man-marked their opponents, putting pressure on the centre-backs. Here, Foden can be seen scanning the area to ensure his teammates were available to support, while the rest of the team moved as a unit to shut the players on the opposite side. City had a fluid shield to protect the backline. The left winger, Jesus, committed a lot to cover the wide zone. This was vital as hitting the underloaded side was Madrid's strength. As seen. Another defensive strategy by City was to cover Madrid's midfielders as they kept a high line to stand as offside traps. This was fine as Hazard and Benzema possess no high-pace qualities. Every City player was committed to helping the team. The threat and combinations on the flank and half spaces such as Hazard and Benzema on the left or Carvajal and Rodrigo on the right were quick and difficult. City placed the midfielders to man-mark those lanes. As we can see De Bruyne on Hazard. Apart from the deep and low block, another thing that was impressive was the cross-field balls suffocated by City. The pressure was continuous in the defensive third of City, hence, direct switch of plays was not allowed here. Sterling opener was a counter-pressing occasion. After Madrid regained possession, Foden looked to counter-press. As shown. He makes a curved run to shield Casemiro and the central passing lane before accessing Varane. Madrid have not been competent playing from the back this term. Without Ramos, the situation worsened. The only effective tool was to drop either midfielder in front of the centre-backs. City were however happy to let them receive the ball, turn and hold it. See how easy Modric had bypassed Foden by carrying the ball forward. If Modric or Kroos was on the ball, their long passes or line-breaking passes were a threat to City. However, numbers and quality between the lines were not good enough unless Hazard appeared. Madrid had a strategy without clear benefits. Another scenario was Kroos dropping to the left half space. This released Mendy to an advanced position, allowing him to play the out balls. The presence of Kroos was another huge reason why Pep did not want his team to press too aggressively. As earlier mentioned, Madrid had a strategy without clear benefits. Their build-up plays were inefficient and couldn't create anything. As shown, Madrid could not beat the man-marking and find a free player. Varane eventually opted for a long ball and the chance was gone. Too many individual errors were made. Obviously this was not Madrid's day. It is totally unfair to point fingers at Varane alone while neglecting the issues of the team. Please tell us in the comments section what you think of this game. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share our videos. We appreciate your time. Thank you.